Bismillaah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina al-Mursaleen. So, continuing from the last lecture, we are still at Bismillaah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I will just write it right here. Go. Okay, this is correct. So a little recap of some of the things we went through last time is that, of course, the meaning of this word and the word in Arabic, by the way, I will just mention this, kalima, kalimatun, can be used to refer to not only a single word, sorry. So kalima may mean, for example, this word Allah, but also kalima, which means word, can also be used to mean, get this right, kalam. Okay, so it can also be used to refer to kalam, like a statement, a speech, a piece of speech, or a saying. So this may be translated as speech. And this is something that is well known. It is also explicitly stated in the beginning of Alfiyat ibn Malik. And this is the reason why you say La ilaha illallah, you call it Kalimat at-Tawheed. That is the statement of Tawheed, meaning the Islamic monotheism, right? So that is the reason why we can refer to this as a word. I don't know how correct that is exactly in English, but in Arabic we definitely can use this, the word kalima, to refer to this whole expression here. Okay, so the meaning is, I will be a bit exact, I will write here in the name of Allah. And this is the translations of these names may vary, but I translate it as the most benevolent and the most merciful. So in the name of Allah, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Okay, what we did go through, let me check my message. Right. What we did go through is that the first word here, and this time I mean word, by word I mean here the collection of letters here that are separated by a space, like these spaces, okay? But in reality, this is a compound word of two different parts, actually. So we have al-ba, the ba, the b, which we can refer to this as al-ba in Arabic. Al-ba, meaning exactly the same thing, which means in, like this. To only say bi in Arabic is not correct. It is not grammatically or syntactically correct. You need to have something else completing the meaning, and that is what you mean when you say that the particles of which this is an example, carry a meaning outside themselves. So the meaning of a particle like this one is not complete. It is not complete without mentioning something else which completes its meaning, because, as I said, the meaning is outside itself. It transcends itself, and it is actually in need. It requires another word to be connected with it. Okay, so that's why I choose to put the 3 dots here in the translation. So bi, the ba always has a kasra, and I will write the kasra like this, and the dotted line here is the actual mid part, the mid section of the, or the center of the writing, meaning that this is a kasra, and that way I can distinguish between a fatha, for example. So the kasra here is, it's always a kasra, okay? It is an integral part of spelling the b, meaning in, okay? Then you have the next word, and this is a particle, and the other thing is a word, ism. It is actually spelled like this, ism, right? Ism. Ismun, this meaning name, okay? This is a hamzatul wasl, meaning it will not be pronounced if there is something preceding it with a haraka. Okay, so you have bi, you have this, and you want to connect it to ism, then it would be pronounced bism, even if you would keep it in writing like this, bism. But in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim specifically, the alif here is not, and the hamza is not written, because I guess because of its usage. It was used so much, and it is so understood that it is not to be pronounced ever, because the b and the ism is an integral part of the word, the expression itself. So the alif got removed from writing, as it is not in any case pronounced. Right? So bism means in the name, okay? In the name, bism. So I could say, for example, this is not a purely, strictly religious expression. You could say, for example, bism Khalid. I can write something in the name of Khalid, and that meaning I am carrying forward his wish, or he is directing me to write something. Okay, so this is all just a brief rehearsal of what I went through the last time, right? What comes here is a kasra, and if you have a particle of this type, you always have to have a kasra on the word that it is connecting to. Okay, so this is the reason for this kasra. Mm. I'm fast forwarding just a bit. Here we have lafzul jalala, the name of Allah. If you say the name of Allah in Arabic, when you're like analyzing a sentence, you don't normally say like kalimat Allah, kalimat Allah. It would perhaps be because this is kind of vague, which is if you say kalimat Allah, this is this is an expression that is mentioned in the Quran even, so it's not really clear. Are you like referring to something that Allah has said? Are you referring, for example, to kalimat al-tawheed, perhaps la ilaha illallah? Is that kalimat Allah? Is that what you mean? Or are you referring to the actual word Allah? Okay, so you don't normally say kalimat Allah. You don't normally say that. You say lafz here we go. Lafzu al jalala. Lafzul jalala. This is the correct way of referring to Allah's name, the word Allah's name, lafzul jalala. So it actually simplifies a lot of things. For example, if you ask about a fatwa, like, for example, is it allowed to mention Allah's name in a graveyard or in any place, like just like asking, is it allowed to mention lafzul jalala in this or that place, right? So this is the lafzul jalala, meaning specifically Allah. Not it does not refer to, for example, Ar-Rahman, even though that is also Allah's name, right? So lafzul jalala specifically, and Allah knows best, is Allah only. Okay. Allah, lafzul jalala in this sentence, speaking purely from a grammatical standpoint, is a possessor of this word, meaning the name. So it is Allah's name, the name of Allah, of meaning possession. Okay. And possession in Arabic, in grammatical terms, is called, we don't actually call it possessive, we call it additive, let's say. So we don't say, we don't say that Allah here is possessing this name, the name. We say that the name is added to Allah. Okay. So this word right here, ism, is called, I will just write it, use my keyboard, that which is added. Okay. And Allah is, يعني لفظ الجلالة is that which it is added to. Okay, it's a mouthful, but in Arabic it's actually a lot simpler. So that which is added in Arabic is called, if you can read it, I will inshallah try to hold on to myself and not say as I am writing, so you can get a little practice. This is Mudaaf. Mudaaf means that which is added, okay? Or it may also mean that which has been added. And that which it is added to is called, try to read along, inshallah. Mudaafun ilayh. Mudaaf ilayh. Okay. So there are a few rules here. I will just explain the relevant one right here. yeah, the two relevant ones, I guess. So the basic word of ism is ismun, okay? A name. Sorry, I'll use the text here. A name. And Allah. And as we explained in the previous lecture, the default haraka for any word or any noun, I should say, is dhamma. So by saying the haraka of the word, I mean the haraka of the last letter of the word, right? So it is dhamma, meaning Allah, right? So two rules of mudaaf mudaaf ilayh is that the mudaaf drops its second haraka. So the so the dhamma here, one of them, is dropped. So ismun Allahu becomes ismullah. Okay, that's the first rule. If you have two, the meaning, I mean, the second one is dropped, meaning that if there is already only one, then nothing is not affected, because it's only the second one that is dropped. So if there is tanween or dhammatan, there's only one left, and it doesn't matter if it's a kasra or if it's a dhamma or if it's a fatha. Okay, just this is the number of harakat is reduced to one. Okay, that's the first rule. The second rule, when adding, as we are explaining right here, that which it is added to, the mudaaf ilayh gets kasra, and not dhamma. Gets kasra. And this as well does not affect the number of harakat. We had only one haraka here, right? One dhamma, Allahu. So we changed it to Allahi. So ismun Allahu became, when we added one to the other, so that Allah possesses the ism, so it becomes the name of Allah. It becomes ismun Allahu becomes ismullahi, right? So this is the reason that you often hear ismullahi, abdullahi, for example. Okay, it's the same thing. So that means that it is Allah's slave or servant, right? So that explains why the kasra here is actually an indication of a possessive relationship between these two words, right? And the lack of two harakat, the lack of tanween, is also a sign, it's an indication. It's not like guaranteed to be, just because there's only one haraka, it doesn't mean that it's always mudaaf mudaaf ilayh. No, but it is an indication. It is indicative of this, okay? And that is why we put of here. That is why this word enters the translation of Allah, right? So a name of Allah, and it is also not a name anymore. It is the name of Allah, and that is another thing. It is not a syntactical or grammatical rule per se, but because it doesn't affect the writing. But if mudaaf ilayh, lafz al-jalala, Allah, is definitive, definite or definitive. I think it's definite. If it is definite, which it is, Allah is definite. Okay, we have also alif lam here, by the way, which means definite form. I'll get to that. So I will write here, Allah is definite form. And that means that the mudaaf is also definite. Okay, so the mudaaf follows the mudaaf ilayh in definitiveness, let's say. Okay, it follows it. And I will give an example which is outside the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. For example, you can read along here. I will not spill the beans. The reading here is Babu Sayyaratin. Bab meaning door. Okay. If it is definite the or a, we will get to that. But sayyara actually, I mean, the modern meaning of it is a car. Okay, sayr. It comes from the word sayr, which means to travel. It is mentioned in the Quran extensively, sayr. Okay. Sayyara, actually, the original meaning of sayyara is a caravan. You know, these like hundreds of camels, or sometimes maybe even thousands of camels, you just, you know, moving like a big train in the desert and the wilderness, you know. That's the original meaning of sayyara. But here we are referring to a car, of course. Okay. So, Babu sayyaratin. Okay, we have a kasra here. Two kasra, but I mean, I digress. There is a kasra here, and we see that there is only one haraka here. So babu, and this is a dhamma, by the way, so it is actually the default haraka of a word. So let's not interpret too much, give too much meaning into the fact that it is specifically a dhamma. Okay, so babu sayaratin. It is a kasra here, right? Meaning that it walks like a mudaaf, it talks like a mudaaf ilayh. It should be actually a mudaaf ilayh relationship here. So that is actually the case. So we should add of here. And this word, you should know that words in Arabic, by like the default state of it is that it is indefinite. Okay, so for example, if I say bab, just bab like this, it is indefinite. It is a door. It is not the door, except that there is something indicating that it is supposed to be definite. Okay, so in this case, sayyaratin, we don't have the alif lam, for example, as-sayyara. We don't have that. So this one is actually indefinite. It is a car. Okay, it's a car, and because this is a mudaaf ilayh, so this is a mudaaf ilayh. It is a possessive relationship grammatically. So mudaaf ilayh owns the mudaaf. So, is it the door of a car, or is it a car of a door? Well, we know that we know that the mudaaf follows the mudaaf ilayh in specificity. I don't know, the definition, meaning if it's indefinite or definite, right? So sayyara here is indefinite. It is a car, and that means that this is also a door. It is not definite. It is not the door of a car. No, it is not. That's not what I'm saying here. This sentence does not express that meaning. So it is a car of a door, meaning a car of a door. That is one way of translating this, and also a car door. I believe that is written as one word, maybe two, actually. So, yeah, a car door. Babu sayyaratin. But what if I would add an alif lam here? Okay, alif lam. You may not know this, but it is the definite article. It's called the definite article. Okay, so definite, the definite article. Okay. It means that when you add it to a word, it becomes definite. That means that I'm actually referring to a specific car in this case, and it could be that it is right in front of us. Right. It could be also that it is something which I have mentioned before. Okay. So in any case, it is definite. It is known which one we are referring to. It's supposed to be known anyway. Okay. The rule about there is a rule with adding alif lam, except that it's, as-sayyara, that's the solar letter. You may want to check up on that if you haven't read about it yet. The rule is that the second haraka, whichever it may be, if it may be a fatha or kasra or a dhamma, it is dropped, right? Babus sayyarati. It becomes babus sayyarati, not babu sayyaratin. Babu sayyaratin becomes babus sayyarati, meaning the car, the door, right? So the meaning becomes the door of the car. The door of the car. Babu sayyara. Okay? So that's the meaning of, that's the reason we have a kasra here. It's because mudaaf ilayh. Okay? And when you say this, when you express it as mudaaf ilayh, you can just as well call it the idafa. Idafa. Okay, that's the meaning and that's the explanation of the kasra here, right? We will take that with us. I will just briefly now explain the meaning of the name Allah linguistically, and we will perhaps need to conclude. Okay, so Allah, the word Allah, Allah, Dhamma, as it is the default haraka for a word, right? Allah means, it means Allah, right? Which is translated as God. Okay, I will allow myself to write this as a translation, even though some brothers and some mashayikh actually says that God is incorrect to use, but I digress. This is for clarity's sake. It is actually made up from alif lam, meaning the, and al-ilah. So this is alif lam, lam alif here. Al-ilahu. Al-ilahu. So there is a, let's say, there is a hamza here, which linguistically is not pronounced. Al-ilah. So there's actually people who are named, of course, Abdullah, Abdullah, and let me ask you, what haraka should be on this ha here of lafz al-jalala? It is, yes, kasra. Actually, the some ethnicities, they have actually incorporated the kasra into their names. So their names, even though they spell it with the Latin alphabet, they use E on the end, like Abdullahi, so that's interesting. but Abdullahi, and there is also a name. Actually, people are named as Abdul Ilah, Abdul Ilah, also kasra, of course, because this is Mudaaf Ilayh. Abdul Ilah. And this is, sorry, maybe that's not clear. It's one word. Abdul Ilah. Okay. Both have the same meaning. So, let's see. I had an example of this. Yeah, exactly. So we have an example of this, like dropping from pronunciation the hamza or the alif here. We have another example in the word for people. So you have a man or a human is called insan. And this is not, I mean, conjecture. This is something which is mentioned by Shahar Uthaymeen. Insan, meaning a human, right? Human. A human, even. Okay? And the plural is actually unas. Unas, meaning people. Unasun. Okay? I also have another word actually for used for as an example of this. Here we go. Remove this. So, insan, unas, but when you add alif lam to al-insan, okay, it is not different. Al-insan, like Surah Al-Insan, hal ata ala al-insan, okay? But unas has actually been, let's say, colloquially modified. So it is not al-unas. That is perhaps said sometimes, al-unas, but it is more commonly the case that the alif here is dropped from pronunciation and also in writing. So if you would drop this letter from al-unas, what would it be? What would you say? It would be an-nas, like Surah An-Nas. Okay? Surah An-Nas meaning the surah of the people, or the, like, I guess the humanity would be the correct specific translation in this case. Okay, so it is not uncommon. We also have the other word for woman, imra'a. Imra'a. There we go. Imra. Sorry, I'm reading along. Sorry, I was stopped up. Imra'atun, meaning woman. Okay. If you add alif lam to this one, it's not about plural. If you add, you don't say al-imra'a, because it is easier, and it has been deemed easier to remove it from pronunciation. You don't say al-imra'a, you say al al-mar'a, al-mar'a too, because the second dhamma here is dropped because of alif lam, right? So al-mar'atu, and you also have the yeah, this is inshallah this is sufficient. Wallahu alam. Actually, this is not correct. This hamza is actually a hamzatul wasl. Sorry. So al-ilah is actually the same word as Allah, meaning the Ilah. And Ilah is actually, this is also something that Ibn Uthaymeen explains, clarifies this. Remove this actually. So Ilah means actually that which is worshipped, specifically with love, actually. Ilahun. And this is the word as well that is in the kalimat at-tawheed. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God, right? There is no God but Allah, right? There is no one, what? Worshipped. The one who is worshipped. That is the meaning of ilah. So al-ilah is the one who is to be worshipped, right? So there is none worshipped in truth. There is no true worshipped being, let's say, except Allah. Okay, so worshipped is the exact translation of ilah. And you also have this, like when a word is written like this, it is sometimes meant to be the object of something. In this case, worship, the object of worship. Ilahun, meaning, so this is something that you can remember perhaps. Ilah means, I'll give you a little arrow here, ma'luh. Sorry, I'm reading along again. Ma'luhun, meaning also worshipped. So it means the same thing. So ma'luh is the primary word for something that is worshipped. Ma'luh. Okay. Ilah is another form of it, but the primary one remains ma'luh. Okay. So when you say ilah, ma ma'na ilah, when you say what is the meaning of ilah, you will hear that the person who has studied this will say it is the ma'luh. Huwa al-ma'luh. Al-ilah huwa al-ma'luh. Okay. And the same way you will find that kitab, this might be a bit abstract, but let me just mention this so that those who are ready for it may receive it and keep it, inshallah. Kitab, which actually you can say that it is written on the same form as ilah. I, you can see here, the first word has kasra, I and ki. Then you have ta and la here with fatha. And then you have a alif here. This is a small alif. The small alif here is called a dagger alif, actually, alif as-sakin, because it is small, like a small dagger. Okay. But it is a standard alif in meaning. Okay. It is purely a form of writing. So there is an alif in ilah, and there is an alif in kitab. Ilah, kitab, and the last letter here, ba or ha, has dhammatan. Okay, so you could almost say that they rhyme. Kitab, ilah. Okay, and if they are written in the same pattern, then they are, in Arabic you say that they have the same wazn, by the way. Okay, wazn. Kitab also means maktub. Sorry, I did it again. There we go. So this means that some words that are written on the pattern ilah, kitab, fi'al, okay, nisab, like this, they mean the same word, ma'luh, maktub, mansub, etc. Okay, so this is just a small benefit. I believe that this is it for this lecture, inshallah. If if you have any questions, please ask in the chat. الله تعالى. Inshallah, if there are. There's one question, inshallah. Okay, so the question is for Bism in the Bismillah, why does the name not become al-ism instead of just ism? Well, the reason is that al-ism, if we wanted to say just the name, we would add al, because that is the particle of definition for adding definition to a word, right? But in this case, we want to not only add definition, we need to do other things. We want to express that this is not only a name in a definite form. We want to express that it is the name of Allah. And then you will need to do the idafa. You will need to do Mudaaf Ilayh. And okay, I can actually tell you that another rule, I believe those are actually the three total rules of the Mudaaf Ilayh. The third rule, we've already mentioned the two first ones, which is that the Mudaaf gets its second haraka removed and the Mudaaf Ilayh gets a kasra. There is also a rule that ism does not accept alif lam. If it has an alif lam, it is removed. Alif lam here is removed. Hope that answers the question. If there are no other questions, inshallah, we can conclude. And subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.